really pay attention today, so you really know what you're doing by the end of the day, so we can really do these fun activities tomorrow, okay? So let's take a look at these three graphs. Each of these graphs shows a distance as a function of time.
Pardon the interruption. Good morning, students and staff. At this time, all students who are attending the trip, please report to the auditorium. Again, all students attending the trip, please report to the auditorium. Thank you.
That's what it says. It says shows the distance as a function of time. So the x-axis is time, the y-axis is distance. So one of these graphs show Mr. Dilla driving around a neighborhood. One of them show him on major city streets, and one of them show him on a highway. So we're going to figure out in a little bit which graph we think is which. Let's take a look. Take a look at graph A. What do we know about graph A right now? Do we know anything? You should be able to find some stuff out. What can we find out about this line right now? What? Alright, so we know it's linear. So we know it's going at a constant rate. Can we find the constant rate that it's going at? So what is it?
What's the slope of that line?
What's the slope for?
It's going up 1. Think about how the distance is measured there.
I was going up 40.
What's that first coordinate?
From look at the first coordinate. It tells you what it is.
So how much did they go up? So they went up 30 and they went over 1.
So what's our slope? Went up 30 and over 1. Yeah. Our slope is 30. Well, 30 over 1, but you can say 30. Alright. So what does that tell us about that graph? No, it's time and distance. What does that tell us? What does that 30 mean? So what is a 30? Say in a sentence. 30, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah, 30 miles per hour. Perfect. When we're talking about speed, we usually say it in that way. 30 miles per hour. We went 30 miles in 1 hour. So let's take a look at graph B. Can we find the slope of that graph? What is it? What is it? 40 over 1. So how can we say that in a context? 40 miles per hour. And what about graph C?
60.
Yeah, 60 miles per hour. We know that the slope, he went over 1 and up 60. From this point, 0, 0, this point. Are these graphs proportional? How do you know? What are the two things we need for a graph to be proportional?
Go through the origin.
Goes to the origin and it's a straight line. So it's linear and it goes to the origin. Good. Oh, so we already found the slope and we already said what it means. Good. Alright, so which of these graphs has the least steep slope? Graph A. And and what is the car speed on that graph? We already said it. 30 miles per hour. Alright, and which one has the steepest? Graph C. And what's the speed for that graph? 60 miles per hour. So what do you notice about the steepness of the line and how fast they're going?
It's higher than means that they're going faster.
Yeah, if the line is
Steeper.
if the line is steeper, it means what?
Moving at a
Yeah, it means they're moving at a faster rate. Okay, so with a partner or in your groups, I want you to talk for like a minute and figure out which of these graphs you think Mr. Dilla is driving on a highway, which one he's driving in a neighborhood, and which one he's driving on city streets.
So a highway would be like the Garden State Parkway. A neighborhood would be like in Woodlake, like if you live in Woodlake, right? And then a city street would be like Route 88 or like New Hampshire. Okay, so there's a difference between the speeds in all of those areas. Okay, so think about if you were in those areas, whether you're like walking, what the driving speed is.
And I assume he's like going around the speed limit.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. You have like a minute.
Sorry for the interruption. Last call. Once again, all students going to the Intrepid, please make your way to the auditorium at this time. All students going to the Intrepid, the big boat in New York, please go to the auditorium at this time. Thank you.
Wait.
So assume he's going the speed limit.
Did you hear what we just said?
Yeah, good.
All right, what do we think? Which one do you think he's driving on a highway? Brian. Why do you think Greg Steve is driving on a highway? Yeah, because he's going like 100 miles per hour. He's going like 60 miles per hour. And that's probably like the speed limit for a highway, right? Alright, so which one do you think is a neighborhood? Nikia? Which one? Graph A? Okay, I just can't hear you. I really did. The first one. Oh, the first one. Okay. Sorry, I'm really good at hearing. Okay, so Graph A. Why do we think Graph A is a neighborhood? Why do you think Nikia said Graph A is a neighborhood? Yeah, because it's going slow. Usually, like, neighborhood streets about 25 miles per hour. Maybe it's gone a little faster, but that's okay. Alright, so what do we think? City streets? Why do we think Graph B is city streets? Anybody else want to give it a try? Why do we think Graph B might be city streets? Yeah, he's not going too fast. He's not going too slow. He's probably going, usually like Route 88 is about 40 miles per hour. Okay. Alright. So today we're going to be talking about qualitative graphs. It's different than what we've ever talked about. When you look at graphs, these are different than the ones we've been looking at. Alright. So take a look. A qualitative graph, write this down. It describes a function visually and not with exact numbers. So when you look at this graph, can you see exactly, like right here, how many miles per hour it's going? No. Does it say any numbers that can tell us exactly how many miles per hour it's going at any point? So it's not like specific. It shows like the movement or the speed roughly, but it's not exact numbers. It's visual. It's more visual. So the sections labeled A, B, and C here are actually the exact slopes of those three graphs, the graph A, graph B, and graph C, that we talked about just on the previous slide. So this is the same slope as graph A, graph B, and graph C. Does everybody have this written?
Just the red.
Just the red, yeah. Qualitative graph describes a function visually and not with exact numbers. So this whole graph right here describes Mr. Dilla's drive to work. I want you to all take a look at this. And and figure out what do you think is happening here. The most important thing when you're looking at a qualitative graph is to take a look at what the axes say. It says time and distance. So what do you think is happening? Like what's happening right at this point? He started up his car, but what's happening?
They didn't go on.
Yeah, he didn't go anywhere yet. His distance is 0 and his time is 0. So no time has passed and his distance is 0. He has gone 0 miles in 0 hours. And then what happened here? Yeah, he's driving. Do you think he's driving very fast there? Take a look at the steepness of the line.
So if you had to make like a story, where is he right now? He's driving in his neighborhood. Okay. So he's leaving his house to go to work. He's driving in his neighborhood.
And then what do you think happened here? Part B.
Highway.
So now he's on the city streets. And then what about here?
Highway.
The highway. But there's in between the neighborhood and the city streets and the highway, there's horizontal lines here. What do you think those mean? What?
You what? Say it again. Oh, the transmission. Think about what the axes represent. What's happening in that horizontal? What's happening to time?
The time. What's happening?
Is time passing on that horizontal? From the first point to the next point of the horizontal. Is time passing?
Yes.
Yes. Is his distance changing?
No.
No. So what's happening?
Yeah, stoplight.
That would be a good option. He could be at a stoplight. What else could have happened?
Pardon the interruption. Once again, last call for the trip. All students attending the trip, please report to the auditorium. Thank you.
Could have been a stoplight. What else? What else could, think about a drive to work. Why else would I stop on my way to work? Maybe he stopped for gas. What else? A Wawa run, a red light's common. Now understand, it doesn't matter the scenario. It could be any of those. You're actually just describing the relationship. Good. Really good to pick up the horizontal. I messed up.
Somebody help me out here. Let's make a story for this entire graph. From when he's here to here. Anything you want. Stoplight, wall, whatever you think happened here.
So at the beginning, Mr. Dilla, what? He started up his car to drive through. Okay, so good.
And then what happened?
Stoplight.
Then you hit a stoplight, alright? And then what happened?
Went to the city streets.
Go into the city street.
Stop for gas.
Stop for gas maybe, alright?
And then went to the highway.
And then he went onto the highway.
Perfect.
Alright. So qualitative graphs, I'm actually just gonna slide this down. So this is the difference. We've only talked about up until now quantitative graphs. So when you think quantitative, think quantity. What does quantity mean? What? Numbers, yeah, like numbers. So there's exact measurements of data on the quantitative graphs that we've dealt with up until now. There's an exact measurement. You can see any point on the graph and know exactly how many miles per hour or exact whatever the graph's telling you. Exactly. And then qualitative graphs, think quality. It's just there's think colors, textures, smells. It's just like the description. You're just looking at like the visual description. There's not going to be numbers really. It's just a visual description of what's happening. Okay, so that's the difference. This is the graphs that we've been working with, and this is the graphs that we're learning about today. Qualitative graphs.
Was Mr. Dilla's relationship linear?
Yes.
No. Because she didn't go.
She was. Oh, no.
Was during his entire drive, was he going at a constant rate?
No.
No, there were certain chunks, right, little segments. But if you think about a drive to work, maybe I drove on average 40 miles per hour to work. But there are segments where I'm on the Parkway, so I'm going faster. I'm on New Hampshire, so I'm going slower. But that would be more qualitative.
So let's take a look at this graph now. This graph shows the number of students who are in the cafeteria from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on a school day. So the first thing you want to look at when you see a qualitative graph are the axes. This says time, and this says the number of students in the cafeteria. So we're not dealing with time and distance anymore, it's the time and the number of students in the cafeteria. So what do you think happens here? What do we think happened?
Why is the line changing? Why is the line like going up and going down?
In the morning when I didn't go cafeteria, and then like in the afternoon when it started turning into really going.
Well, look at the times. Can you give us like an explanation of like around this time, maybe this is happening?
Rush hour.
Hmm? Rush hour? Students in the cafeteria at school? Where's their rush hour at school? What does the increase, what does the upward curve of the line represent?
More kids in the cafeteria.
Okay, more kids in the cafeteria. What would the down, that curve down represent?
They're losing more
Less kids. Okay, so we understand that movement. So could we put a scenario to that, knowing that it's kids in the cafeteria? What do you think's happening? Why would kids go into a cafeteria around 11? Why? Because that's usually lunchtime. So what's happening in that school? What's happening at 11?
They're eating.
They're already eating?
They're going.
No, they're
all,
getting
more,
in.
more kids are going.
Okay, so what do you think happened in the school?
Well,
Bell rang. Bell rang. And then what happened? Bell rang.
kids leave.
Kids leave. Are going.
We're going into the cafeteria.
They got
When do you think the bell rang to show that lunch was over? Around what time?
11:30. No. 12.
Oh my.
What point would it show that the bell probably rang?
Well,
When the line's doing what?
Going down.
When the line's starting to go down. So what time?
like 12.
Does it matter exactly in this scenario?
No.
No. Some of you say like 12, you say like 12:30, 12:15. Right, but as long as you understand that, you're good. You understand the point of a qualitative graph.
Yeah, all it's showing is kind of what's happening. It's not exact. We don't know exactly the bell schedule for the school.
When? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
When's the cafeteria empty?
At
The end of the day.
first period.
Based on our graph, when's the cafeteria empty?
At the end of the day.
1 o'clock?
No.
12:24.
Based on that graph, when is the cafeteria empty?
Like 12:10.
Yeah.
What time?
What would it mean for the cafeteria to be empty on the graph?
1 o'clock.
Where would the line have to be? The cafeteria.
Think about the line.
On the what?
Where would the line have to be to show no students in the cafeteria?
2.
On what?
2.
Does this graph show us?
Why not? Where would our line have to be on the graph to represent 0 students in the cafeteria?
All the way. All the way down.
On which axis? On the x-axis, because the y value there would be 0. Does our line ever touch the y-axis? Or, I'm sorry, the x-axis?
No.
No, here it doesn't. So do we know when the cafeteria is totally empty? No. Perfect. So we don't want to assume. We're only going off of what we actually see. Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's fine. I'll leave
Yeah.
that. One, number of students in cafeteria. Okay, so can you identify any other everyday situations that can be described in a qualitative graph? So think about maybe your daily lives. Go ahead.
The hallways.
The hallways. So what about the hallways? What would the x-axis be? What would the y-axis be? We were talking about the hallways. What do you think? Can anyone help Ryan out? He said we can make a qualitative graph of the hallways.
If you want to do students in the hallway, you could do like if you wanted to do students in the hallway during a school day, what would your x-axis have to be?
9 bumps.
The x-axis? As time. Right from the start of the day to the end of the day. As the time of the day is passing, what would your y-axis be? Students what? In the hallway. Would an administrator in our school ever want, potentially, a qualitative graph of this information?
Yes.
Would this help? If all of a sudden you could show Mr. Goldstein a qualitative graph when there's the most students in the hallways and when there's the least students in the hallways, why would a school ever want to know that? Okay, so hall sweeps. Maybe it could identify a time where there's, but are there always students in the hallway that shouldn't be?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, but maybe there's if there are a ton of students in the hallway, what's probably happening?
Fight.
They're, yeah.
Well, just think about the flow of your day.
The bell rang.
The bell rang, right? So it may not always be a bad thing. It might just show when the majority, maybe we need an extra security guard to be in the hallway at that time just to make sure that a fight doesn't happen. Okay, because they're not all intentional. If it's a crowded hallway and someone bumps into you by accident, who knows what could happen. So a school may want that information. But do they need to know that at 11 o'clock there are 207 students in the hallway? No, they don't need to know exact numbers, but it's helpful to know that there's a lot of students in the hallway. That's a really good example.
This graph might look something like this. What do you think happens here? What is here? The start of the school day, so there's how many students in the hallway before the school day started? Zero. And then what happened?
The door's open.
Yeah, the door's open, and what do we do to stop this one? It's really steep, so everyone's kind of coming in at once, right? Because the door's open, and everyone tramples each other.
Then you go to class. What happens during first and second period?
You sit in class.
Actually,
Bell rang.
So how many students are in the hallway?
None.
Unless you were going to the bathroom.
It's like 2.
Alright, so let's say nobody went to the bathroom.
Oh, that would be a B.
No. That'll be all alright. Okay. Then nobody's in the hallway. Everybody's in first and second.
B.
And then the bell rings. Everybody floods the hallway.
The ebb and flow of your day.
Okay.
Any other examples?
Okay.
Outside of school? Doesn't have to be school related. Do companies ever look at qualitative graphs?
About money.
Maybe money?
How much?
Maybe the number of sales? Right. If I sell bathing suits and I looked at a yearly snapshot of sales, when do you think my sales are low?
Oh, winter time.
Yeah, and then maybe my sales really spike around a certain time. Companies could use that to drive their production, to drive their costs, like their prices. Good. Great job.
Okay, so this is a graph of the ball's distance from the ground. Okay? So I want you to with a partner or in your groups and talk about what do you think is happening here. Talk about where you think the ball started, what do you think happened, where did it end up? Okay, we'll give you like a minute and a half.
So come up with a story, a really quick story to explain this ball and its distance from the ground. What's happening?